Namaste everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to talk about shadow work. What is shadow work and how can you practice it in your life? So first of all, you have to understand that shadow work is not something which is negative in nature. It is actually a form of alchemy. You can become the alchemist of your life when you practice shadow work. But a lot of people misunderstand it as a negative thing because the ego paints the world as black and white. It wants you to think that you can't accept the shadow side, the negative side, and transform it into something better. It wants to deny it. And this is why we need to start practicing shadow work and stop bypassing the difficult aspects within ourselves. So what is shadow work really about? It is about integration. In our human lives, we can't escape the fact that we are judged, we are criticized, which leads to lack of self-acceptance. Another thing is that we go through trauma. We go through difficult experiences, we go through pain, we go through many things because of which we disconnect from ourselves. We numb ourselves because the pain is too hard to bear. It is too hard to process. And this starts from the very childhood. That when we are judged, when we are criticized, we teach ourselves to reject that feeling. We teach ourselves to ignore. And we think it's gone. But what we are doing is we are disassociating from a part of ourselves. We are creating fragments. We are telling ourselves that this part is acceptable and this is not. So everything that we tell ourselves is not acceptable becomes our shadow side. And you might know that the unconscious, the subconscious part of you is more powerful than the conscious part. So consciously you may go on saying that this is not affecting me, I am ignoring it. But unconsciously it starts controlling you. It may reflect in your relationships, in your work life. It will try to grab your attention by making you do some unconscious things. Another thing that comes from the shadow side by escaping it, by numbing ourselves, is addictions. You try to escape yourself because you don't want to face yourself. You don't want to face that pain, which is very normal. Everyone can connect with this, that we get into addictions because we don't want to face certain things about ourselves, which is fragmentation, which is the shadow side. But another thing that people have a hard time understanding is about trauma, because not all humanity has become so sensitive that it can step into other person's shoes and realize that everyone's trauma is different. Maybe it's not on a large level according to you, but for that person it can be devastating. So trauma is something that fragments your entire whole integrative being because it is too hard to process, like I said earlier. And this is one of the main causes for the shadow side to exist, because it is very painful emotionally. So the entire process of shadow work has nothing to do with negativity. It's actually to alchemize the negative aspects. And they are not at all negative, they are just part of life. It's because of our conditioning, because the criticism that we go through, the judgment that we go through, the programming convinces us that this is good, this is bad. Feeling sad is bad, feeling happy is good. But you can't have one side of life. Life is a package of sadness and happiness. Every experience is temporary. So the more you keep doing this, the more you ignore life, reject life. And this is the shadow side of spiritual community or spirituality in general, that we only want the happy side, where we are having good experiences. When we go in through meditation, we are raising our vibration, we are feeling happy. But that does not exclude you from life itself. You will still live, you will still go through experiences that may cause you pain, that may make you unhappy. But a lot of times people use spiritual transcendence to convince themselves that no, nothing is wrong. I can just ignore it. I am beyond it all. But you have a physical body, you have a nervous system, you have emotions. How will you process them if you just ignore them? So this is the shadow of being spiritual, the mainstream spiritual, or the spirituality of always feeling happy. That's not healthy. You need to understand that life is both, and one must learn to accept the sadness so that it doesn't become the shadow within you. And the problem with not accepting is you live in denial. This is a very crucial point that we need to talk about. The ego loves denial. You might have heard the saying, ignorance is bliss. The more you don't know, you feel that it's not there. But the truth is that all these aspects, all this pain, it's there and it is controlling you. So ignorance is bliss only when you numb yourself. Sooner or later, you will have to face the reality. You can't run from it forever. And when you come face to face with it, a lot of times people are not able to handle it. That's why they fall into extreme addiction. They get depressed because they have been running away from all these things, all these truths of their own aspects for such a long time. And when they are finally unable to deny anymore, they don't know what to do. So you have to understand that denial is not the answer. Denial is only the ego's strategy to delay, to postpone your healing, to postpone your highest potential, to postpone that alchemy to happen. Naturally, if we look at life, we are alchemists. When we go through the negative experiences, we learn from it, and when we come out of it stronger. So alchemy is already happening. When you reject because of the criticism, because of the programming, when you say this is wrong, I'm not supposed to feel sad, you're not processing it. So what's happening? You are not being the alchemist. You will not learn from it anything. You will just become ignorant. So ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is suffering in the long term. In the short term, it may feel like that you are happy, that you are blissful. But that's not the case in the long run. It will lead you to suffering. It will lead you to unconsciousness. It will lead you to depression. So accept instead of denying. Which brings me to the next thing. Accept your emotional body. This is a very huge point for shadow work. If you are not connected emotionally to yourself, if you are always numbing yourself, you won't be able to do the shadow work. You have to first reconnect with your heart center. You can put both your hands on the heart, take a deep breath, and just feel what emotions are there, what your heart is feeling, because heart is the center of your emotional body. And when you're connected to your emotions, then you are directly creating a bridge to those aspects that need healing, that need to be accepted, that need to be integrated. So a very good example would be that whenever you are triggered, whenever you are feeling sad out of nowhere, at that time we tend to escape ourselves. At that time we tend to just run away from ourselves. We try to just escape that feeling. Instead of going within, we just go without. We distract ourselves. So this is a really good opportunity to practice the shadow work. Just put both of your hands on the heart, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what am I feeling? Which emotion is showing up for me? And just try to connect with that emotion. Maybe that emotion is telling you you are not enough. Maybe that emotion is telling you that you are sad. So just allow yourself, just affirm to yourself, I allow myself to feel this way. It's okay to feel this way. And the more you sink into that feeling, the more you are able to see that where is it coming from. Maybe it is coming from an aspect of you that was made to feel it is not enough. Maybe an aspect of yourself that was told it's not okay to be sad. And these aspects can come from different times. Maybe when you were a child, teenager, your adult years. It can have different timelines, but they all exist within your unconscious. So when you feel that emotion, when you see that aspect of yourself, just feel that your present self is hugging that aspect. You can also hug yourself while you're doing this. And as you do that, feel that aspect is feeling accepted by you. You are owning that part of yourself, that it's okay to feel sad. And if you feel emotionally an outburst, you may feel like crying, it's okay to do that. It's a sign of healing. And as you integrate that aspect with yourself, just feel that you are becoming one with it, that there is no longer any separation. And there is an integration process, like it's coming back to you. You are no longer seeing it as separate, unworthy, something to be rejected. You see the opposite, that you're owning it. You're becoming one. Another thing that you can do is when you feel emotional, when you feel low, you connect with that particular part of yourself and you use writing to express what that aspect is feeling. That I am feeling sad or I am feeling lost, whatever, and just let it out. And this can help you to release all that emotional baggage that you have within yourself. And once you release it, you start feeling lighter. You start feeling that that part is now more ready to be integrated with you. And one more thing that I want to talk about is just imagine that you have a friend or someone, and out of nowhere, all of a sudden, they start ignoring you. They start rejecting you. They never give you closure. Why are they doing this? So you will get angry at them. You will be mad at them. And this is what happens when you try to reconnect with these parts, especially the parts of you from childhood. Because you have been rejecting them for so long, when you try to approach the little boy, the little girl within you, they will be mad at you first. Because you just abandoned them in a way. You never looked after them because you thought they were weak, they were not acceptable, they were not enough. Many reasons are there. But when you approach them, that's why it's important to be patient, to be not stubborn or aggressive. Just move gently by being in connection with your emotional body. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is integration. Once you accept and own all these aspects of yourself, now, because you are not seeing them as a problem, you will have the strength of them. So your whole being becomes integrated then. There is nothing that can create insecurity in you, because most of the time the parts of you that are in the shadow, they create the insecurity. If someone says something to you, you become insecure. It's not your entire being, it's the shadow side. I'm not saying that you will become bulletproof or you will have no problems. No one will be able to trigger you. Still, that will happen, but not to that intensity. And even if it happens, you will know where is it coming from, which wound I need to take care of more. So your entire perception completely changes, and you can see the reflection in your relationships. Maybe you were having one after another toxic relationships. You were not able to get into a good relationship. Suddenly you will realize the blind spot. That shadow side was the blind spot. And once you accept that, once you embody that and integrate it, there is no longer any blind spot. So now you can attract a better partner, because you will see that what you were ignoring in the person, in the other person. So it makes you more and more aware and conscious in your life. There is nothing negative about it. It makes you the alchemist, and it also makes you more powerful, because now you are not vulnerable. All these vulnerabilities that were within you, you accepted them and you owned them. You are not judging yourself, you are loving yourself. And that's the opposite of what we are taught. So I hope you enjoyed this video. You can like, comment, share. You can also support my work by hitting the thanks button. And please make sure to subscribe. See you in the next video. Much love to you all.